Are you a business owner looking for real advice and input? You're in the right place. From concept to launch to growth, funding, and beyond. Welcome to Startup Hustle with your hosts. One once sold a business for $150 million. The other, the author of $1 Million Bedroom. Here are your hosts of Startup Hustle, Matt DeCoursey and Matt Watson.
And we're back. Another episode of Startup Hustle. Matt DeCoursey here with Matt Watson. Hi, Matt.
What's up?
I'm just doing my thing, man. Just getting my tech services on. And speaking of which, this episode of Startup Hustle is brought to you by Fullscale.io.
Are you open for services today?
Maybe.
What kind of services do you provide?
Technical. Tech.
I need some help around my house.
Nope. Wrong kind.
I need to fix my TV.
Wrong. Well, it's
Wi-Fi.
not a tech service. That is getting closer.
Closer?
Could help you build some software.
Really?
Yeah, so can our guest today. I'm going to go ahead and introduce George Brooks, who's the founder and CEO of Crema.
What's up, guys?
What's up?
That's like my...
What's up,
guys?
Okay.
What's going on?
That's super...
I'm on too many YouTubes.
Yeah, I was on the YouTubes this morning.
This podcast is on YouTube.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up. The Startup Hustle
Hustle.
YouTube channel.
Great.
It's funny. I posted a link about our video marketing episode,
Yeah.
and then after that I was like, why didn't I post the video link of our?
Duh.
I know.
I mean,
Fail.
follow through.
Fail.
Follow through.
So George, you're the founder and CEO of Crema. Now, those of you listening, you know I like it when you're interactive. Go to crema.us, crema.us.
.us.
So George, you own a business that's similar to the one that Matt and I own.
Yeah,
We
for
do
sure.
some of the same stuff.
I mean, a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
we were just talking about that. There is some crossover.
It's
Yes,
the same but different.
I would completely agree
Yeah.
with that assessment.
But technically you own a tech services startup, or was a startup, or however we want to look at it.
Yeah, is
Oh,
it a
gosh.
startup?
Let's talk
How
about
do we
that.
define a startup?
So straight up, we're not a startup.
All right. not a
Yeah,
startup.
but tell me why.
So I think I don't know. We can talk about this.
Yeah,
but
well, it's a hot topic because we've discussed what is a startup, because like Uber, like how is Uber still a startup?
Oh, it's an enterprise at this point,
It's
yeah.
actually a verb.
Yeah. Yes, very much
Right.
just like Google or anything
Yeah.
else. Yeah, no, I think of us, I mean, we're totally a small business that looks like a startup, is
Right.
the way I like to say it. So, I mean, we've been in business for 10 years. We just celebrated 10 years a week ago,
Wow.
which is like,
Congrats.
Yeah,
I feel
congratulations.
like I'm really old, although I was super young when I started it. And,
You still look young.
oh, thanks, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
No gray hair or anything.
And you have a
There
lot.
is
You
a
have a
few in
lot
there.
He's got a lot of hair too.
It's never going
Yeah.
away. My
It's
grandfather
tall.
had the same thing.
It's tall and it's curly, and I'm jealous.
Well,
We said we'd be open and transparent.
This
Yeah.
is true. This
Yeah.
is true. How do you really feel about that?
Yeah, I feel that we should talk about tech services again,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
not my
Go
hair,
back- go
because
back
I
to
get
it.
depressed, and then Voltron will have to like step in. And
So the question of if we're a startup, no. I mean, we were a startup, or we thought we were when we first got started. But my opinion is that a startup is someone primarily who's trying to scale relatively quickly.
And trying to find a business model and product market fit.
Yeah,
and-
Sure.
Yeah, and so one thing, I'll be honest, it's way easier to start a services company, a small business.
Yeah. You
than
find a customer.
That's right, and
Start.
they pay you to do the thing that they don't want to do.
Yep.
Yep.
And than it is to find product market fit with a product or with maybe a service in some ways, but then trying to get a large audience that's ready to scale that up, find the resources, the funding, and et cetera to do that. It's way easier to start a services big.
And there's a specific set of, and like our topic today is tech service startups, and whether you're in year 10 or year 2, you're going to find a lot of the same issues. And so Matt and I, as the co-founders of Fullscale, our company's grown pretty fast.
Yeah, a lot faster.
And we help people build technology, and so does Crema.
Yep.
Have a little different approach. Like we are doing it with offshore
Yeah, totally.
people, and you are all onshore.
Yeah, and explicitly so. And
All in KC?
all but one in KC.
All right.
There's a guy he just moved to Minnesota.
Okay.
So we have a couple remote people. We have a full-time salesperson in Phoenix. One of our product managers works from DC.
Sure.
But they spend a lot of time here, and honestly, one of our clients is in Kansas City.
Right.
Almost all the rest of our clients are on the coasts.
And someone out there listening is going, did they have their competitor on the podcast with them? But that's not really the way we look at it. First off, there's so much meat on that bone.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, everybody needs this right now.
Well, you guys talked about it in one of your previous episodes. I mean, it's still a huge talent gap, right?
Yeah,
And so
it's
everybody's
bad.
trying to solve that problem, whether it is with, offshore, nearshore, onshore, whatever. Everybody's trying to figure out a way to do that, and there's pros and cons to each way.
Sure.
Well, and you guys' specialty is helping people build kind of new products, right? Like,
Yeah, for the most part. And now it's kind of switched. So when I first got started 10 years ago, I was a freelance graphic designer turned, let's be honest, I slapped UX on the front of my title, and I got a lot of work
Nice.
because it was super hot at the time.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was actually a UX designer.
You are now.
Well, I totally am now. But at the time, it was just like, yeah, that's cool. And it looked cool. Like the UX looks neat. So yeah, I just slapped it on the front, got some work, started working mostly with engineers and developers. And then startups.
because developers are shitty at UX
Yeah,
work.
totally. And I could speak
We write code, not like pretty UI things.
That's right. And I could speak the language. And so the reality is it came back to, oh, you'll pay me to do that? Sweet, this is fun. Did that freelancing. I hated freelancing. And I think freelancing is where a lot of maybe even our audiences,
Yeah.
this audience of our podcast and your podcast, probably there's a lot of
A
freelancers.
one-person tech
Well, let's
service
call your
business.
podcast out. Where can
Yeah,
we
it's
find that?
Option 5 is our podcast. So we've been doing, you guys are way ahead of us. You're 100 and some odd, how many?
180.
180.
That's how many have come out as of this recording. We might be closer to 200 when this comes
That's
out.
crazy.
I
We're
know.
like 12, 15. I mean, we just started, so it's
I'll
fun.
loan you, Matt, if you want to boost
Yeah,
those numbers.
we should have you guys on. Honestly, it'd be a good conversation. And ours is a
Which
little
Matt are we talking about here?
I just like
Yeah,
to keep
okay.
it general.
Mats.
Yeah. Yeah.
And ours is more about talking to practitioners, like the product manager inside the company
Yeah.
that's trying to do the thing. But yeah, so we.
And,
you know,
and another thing too, like with tech service, you're going to find different kinds of clients that have different kinds of
Yeah.
needs. And
Yeah.
like you told us before we hit record, a lot of your clients have a mandate or a very strict set of needs or guidelines around having people here or domestic or
Yeah.
whatever. And we run into that too. Sometimes we talk to folks and I'll tell them, I just don't think our model is what you're looking for.
and vice versa.
Right, right.
This is the reason why I can't really work. It's harder for me, and being on the startup hustle, I miss the startup work. We have maybe one startup client a year now, and it's usually someone who's really well funded, usually has had a previous thing, and we're only with them for a short period of time because our model is just it's more expensive. And so, I mean, the early days, people would take a risk on the kid in his second bedroom calling himself a UX designer. And that was fun. So we did startup work because they could afford me because my rate back then. Oh, my rate was so low. And then now it was, how did I feed myself?
We get grandfathered into that rate, right?
Yo, yeah, for sure.
I think I've got an old MSA that
Yeah.
we signed with you.
Yeah,
that,
right.
guarantees that rate.
Yeah, forever.
Yeah.
I think it was $30 an hour.
No, it was
gosh,
low,
no
way
joke.
lower.
It was
way
$20
lower.
an hour.
Yeah.
20. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was 20,
I mean,
yeah.
why?
Yeah.
Come on.
Sorry.
Can we
Yeah,
get a
yeah.
signal going or
Yeah.
something before you start throwing out
Sorry.
rates? I think it was like $17.50.
12.50.
He's like, look, if you'll pay me, I'll do it.
Yeah, pretty much.
But-
But so it was taking a risk. Now, since the
George,
company's grown,
let's back up for a little bit though. So you literally started your tech services business in the extra bedroom of your home.
Technically, I started in a
close to it.
hospital room.
Okay. Wow.
So
Well, that's a first.
yeah.
Okay.
So I won't tell the whole story other than I have 3 little girls.
I mean, were you hurting for cash? Is that why you were in there?
No, but KU Med has incredible Wi-Fi if you need to get a good spot, and it's they never really. There's so many people there they couldn't tell you if you're supposed to be there or not. So free co-working is what I call
Wow.
KU Med. No, my oldest daughter was in the hospital for the first 7.5 months of her life, and so she was super critical. Basically died several times, and they resuscitated her, and now she's was trached, had a G tube, and a bunch of other crazy things. So I was never at work. And I worked like 45 minutes away, and so I would white knuckle it down to the office down to the hospital when they would say, "Hey, you need to get here before she's probably gone." And so I said, "No, this sucks. I'm gonna quit my job when my kid was in the hospital." Brilliant idea, by the way. That's how you start a startup. Is usually the worst time to do it. And long story short, she finally started to recover, but although it took 3.5 years, but. Wow, it got super serious really fast. Sorry about that, but
no, that's the reality thing. You talk about I started a business at the worst possible time, and it eventually evolved into everything I
right.
still do now.
Yeah.
And there's some there's the level of adversity, and you say, wow, it got serious.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing is like you had to jump, you jumped and then built wings.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's something about that is a driving factor.
Some people say like, I dreamt of starting a business, or I had this thing, and yeah, I mean, I always thought it'd be fun, but the reality is it was somebody pushed me off a cliff.
Sure.
And then it was like, how do I build an airplane, as quickly as possible? And that was finding people that would pay me to do the thing they didn't want to do, which was design their products.
I think a lot of service businesses do just literally start with a contractor.
Yeah, totally.
And then all of a sudden they hit their max.
Mm-hmm.
And now they got to find some other people. And
So
the next thing you know,
so let's talk about that for a second, because like I have two friends that are solo. They would refer to themselves as entrepreneurs, but it's just them, and they actually have that argument with people, because people say, well, you're not an entrepreneur because you're like a freelancer.
Yeah,
you're not an entrepreneur.
I almost think it's harder to be a freelancer.
And so they
it is.
That really upsets them when people say, oh, you're not an entrepreneur, you're a freelancer.
Oh, I think they totally are.
I think that's a dumb statement to say they're not entrepreneurs. You're an entrepreneur if you control your own destiny.
Yeah.
When it comes to your income.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you could be a one-person cleaning crew that works for two clients for 30
question.
years. You're still an entrepreneur. You own a business. You are in charge of your enterprise and your future, and whether it continues to go.
That's absolutely right.
So the really hard part about being a one or two person company like that is you're busy doing all the work.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have time to go find the next project.
And that's the part about being a freelancer.
That's a really difficult part. So did you have that problem in the early days a lot?
Yeah, it was the first two.
Like your head's down for 3 months and you're like, oh shit, I'm done with this project. What do I do now?
Yeah, and then there's this gap of no work.
Yeah.
100%. And that's when anybody says I'm going to jump out and do my own thing. I'm like, prepare for this.
Yep.
And it's that story. And that was the reason I landed a huge contract. At the time it was a really, really big contract.
At $33 an hour.
This is what's crazy. Again, fake it till you make it. Everybody says that, but I went in and I was doing some subcontract work for another agency, as their UX guy, their digital guy, and they said, hey, can you work on this health system website? And I was like, yeah, we had done these little clinic projects. And they go, no, we're going to do a whole health system. And it was like 5,000 pages of content, and it was a 23 hospital network.
Jeez.
And I went, you realize I'm like a 24-year-old kid, and I don't know what I'm doing, right? And they're like, no, it's fine. You seem like you got it. And they wanted me to project management, probably whatever word you want to put on the front of that. And then they wanted me to design it and find the developers. So I literally texted my buddy, and I was like, hey, I think at the time it was Drupal. And he was like, do you think you could build this? And he goes, hell yeah, I could build that. Can we cuss?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Fuck yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Feel better now? Yeah.
I've been on a couple podcasts where it's like, ooh, I don't think this is
we
that
just
kind of...
we just mark them all explicit, just in case.
It's
we figured
that
it's
way.
a good blanket policy.
But anyways, I came back, and so we probably should have taken weeks putting together a proposal, and in 2 days we just went, what do you think it's going to cost? And he's like, I don't know, you want $200,000 and I'll take $200,000? And I said, yeah, that's amazing. That'd be incredible. And so we just went back and we said $400,000. I mean, like, there was no like formal presentation.
Swag method.
Yeah. And
The what?
Swag method. Scientific wild ass guess.
Yeah, totally.
Oh,
which
I
is
like that.
how we do most of our work.
Let's add that to the acronym collection.
The jargon.
Yeah.
But anyways, they said yes. They were like, oh, that sounds about right. And so they signed a contract, and I immediately realized I had no idea what I was going to do.
7 years later, you're still working on it.
No. I mean, and it was a great project. We had a great relationship with them for, a year and a half, and it was incredible.
Just the two of you did all the work?
No, we did. I hired my first designer then.
Okay.
And then I immediately realized I have no idea how to run a business. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Okay, this is a common thing for service providers and entrepreneurs. They start something because they're passionate about it. Like, you look at someone, like, let's just say an artist. Like, I really love painting. I'm really good at it, and that's what I want to do. And then they get enough moving forward, and they're like, oh my God, like, I don't know anything about running a business.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. It's not that hard. You just have to actually make the effort to learn.
That's right.
How to do it. Literally, like, all right, if you email me, I'll send you a free copy of $1 Million Bedroom, because it literally will tell you most of the basic crap that you need to know.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
it's not that hard, but at the same time, it is hard. It's really freaking hard when it comes to other people being involved in your business.
Well, and you have some people. So one of our mutual friends, I won't say their name, but you know who they are, is a solo entrepreneur like this. He has absolutely no interest in having employees or dealing with any of it.
Yeah.
He would rather just have him be himself, and he probably makes a couple $100,000 a year, whatever, as a freelancer or solo entrepreneur, consultant, whatever.
Doing the same thing, right?
And he has no interest in having employees. He actually did it for a while, and then had a bunch of problems with the partner, had a bunch of problems with all the employees, and now he's like, screw that shit, never doing it again. I'm just going to be my own thing.
There's merit to that approach
too.
Like it depends now. All right, so when it comes to service businesses, like you said, the biggest problem that when I talk to freelancers, and we end up hiring a lot of them at Full Scale. Like,
sure.
I mean, they are good at what they do,
they can't find work.
They get stars in their eyes. They quit their job and they say, I'm going to go like be a freelancer on Upwork or something like that, and then they realize, oh, holy shit, I got to be a salesperson too.
They don't have stability.
And then the thing is you, and if you don't have any street cred, it's that much harder.
And your reputation's not there
yet.
Goofy
24-year-old kid gonna give him $400,000. What the hell?
Super smart. I mean, like, good looking,
super
good hair.
smart, great hair.
It was the hair.
Cool jean jacket.
I probably looked way nerdier back then, but that's I mean. Anyways,
those moments when you pass. You guys neither one of you are nerdy, especially you, Watson.
Matt looks really nerdy.
Yeah.
No, I think he's got it. He's rocking it.
By the way, Matt, you should listen to the episode that was published today about video marketing, because Jay Austin, I mentioned you were in Cebu, and he asked me what SPF you use. And I said maybe 1,000, and then I did list that you were one notch above a vampire for sunburn risk.
Yeah, I am.
That happens. I just got back from San Diego. It's a real thing. I was very covered.
I just don't even go out in the
I'm
sun.
Irish.
I'm just busy working.
Yeah.
So, all right. So now tech service businesses, much like Crema, and go to crema.us and check out what they do. Go to fullscale.io and look at what we do. Models are different. Some of it's the same. We don't have, and we'll leave that for maybe another time. But when you run a service business, you're going to run into the topic of scalability is a different conversation than you may have with other types of businesses, like a true software business. And the reason is when you provide services, humans, unless you have some kind of canine or animal service business, but you have people that do it. So with the increased output of services, you have to have more people.
Yeah, and that's what I talk about is growing a service company. Scale happens 100% through humans.
Yeah,
it's manpower. And
so there's upsides to that, and there are definite drawbacks to that too.
Yeah.
Because people are people. They, when Neil Sharma was in here talking about DEG, and he said, the difference between people and software is software shows up to work every day.
And we even have a culture where you're allowed to work from wherever you want. I don't care. So we have a super flexible work environment. But yeah, it's reality. I'm in the business of people. I just happen to build apps.
Yeah.
That is actually my mantra.
I say that. You've heard me say that. I say, hey, we're a sales and marketing company that happens to sell tech.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, but with people come some complications, and
employees are fun.
Sometimes they're great, and sometimes they're not.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing. So one thing that we realized pretty quickly with Full Scale was our profile to potential investors was a lot different, and that there's a lot of money that flows into software and other types of stuff, but realistically, if you're thinking about starting a tech services startup, you need to understand that it's not going to be valued at like a 40x multiple.
Yep.
And you're going to have a different type of person if you want to seek investment or scale it or exit it.
It's one of the reasons Dan and I are the only shareholders or only owners in the company. Like we don't do an equity share. We've never taken investment. We bootstrapped everything over the last 10 years because we made it pretty clear we're not planning to scale this. Because we weren't going to go overseas, we couldn't actually pull in more manpower faster. We knew we were going to grow slow, and we intentionally said, okay, we get it. We're going to grow slow. We're going to hire slow. And I think the thing with tech services is it's two sides of the coin. Can I find another client? which of course we're in a good economy now and people need tech, and that's getting a little bit easier. And do I have enough people to do the work?
Right. And that's a real problem, right? I mean, if you need to go hire a high-level graphic artist or UX designer or a software developer, those people are hard to find.
Yeah, it's super hard.
And then your clients come to you and say, I need you to start on this project like tomorrow, and you're like, I don't have somebody to do the work.
We lose contracts because
or conversely, you in the projects and you have these really expensive assets sitting on the bench. That you got to pay these really expensive employees.
It's one of the reasons our model is, and maybe not harder, but it is difficult. Albeit it comes with one of the things that we get to do is we get to build really, really close relationships with our clients, like literally getting to sit in the room with their team. So that's the thing is, but you're right, absolutely. We had some idle time. I'll be honest, transparent. We had some idle time with some of our designers. Designers are the ones that actually are the hardest to fill full time. Developers tend to be 100% almost all the time. You kind of always need another one, albeit we just kind of scale how fast we bring on more. But designers, on the other hand, they're super efficient, and then they're not needed 100% of the time. And so you kind of have these ups and downs. Same thing with what we call product strategists and our product managers. It just depends on the phase of the product, where you're at, what release schedule you're on, et cetera, as to when their capacity is at whatever percent.
When people ask me about full scale and just, so our office is 8,500 miles away.
Yeah, right.
I mean, we have a very small presence here in the U.S. and then 175 people in the Philippines.
Incredible.
And that came really quickly.
Yeah,
and it's still
you guys
growing.
grew so fast,
well,
and are growing fast.
And that presented a whole lot of challenges.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff that we did, we had to look at a lot of the ways that we did stuff, but you have this chicken and egg problem, like you're talking about, like Matt mentioned the bench. Like, it's hard to sometimes make a sale when you don't have
don't have capacity.
Now, and I deal with most of our sales still at this point because our clients are sticky. Our projects don't really end. We're looking for people that want to have a team and maintain that for years.
Sure. Yep. And our biggest clients are the same way.
Yeah, and that's what the clients want. That's what we want. But that said, especially in the beginning, now. It's a lot easier for me to make sales.
Sure.
Because there's people they don't, a year ago when we had 30 people.
Yeah.
They're like, well, how many of them work for
you?
How many of them work for Stackify?
Yeah.
Like, are there actually other clients? And you're like, yeah. And like now it's easy.
Don't worry. It'll be fine.
I'm just a 24-year-old kid. I can do it.
Right.
Basically.
And so, it made it a lot easier. But, a year ago, or actually more like a year and a half ago, it was really a lot more challenging because the model didn't feel as proven, and because it wasn't.
Right.
And the hiring model was so inexact because we wanted to try. So we specialize in experts.
Yeah.
We're not just about butts and seats. It's about senior, high-level talent. Now the thing is you cannot predict when that's going to walk through the door with a resume in hand and say, hey, I'm interested in working here.
Yep.
And then also your ability to attract top people when you don't have a brand,
or brand presence in the market.
Or just or a reputation or anything. So we treated that was like priority one for us, was establishing a workplace that people were proud of, that they wanted to work at, and stuff
then
like that.
They become your recruiters.
They did.
That's what we found.
Yeah. Still, our number one recruitment method is our own employees, and we pay them to do that.
Yeah. An incentive, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Us too. And I think it is so important to have a culture where people want to come to work.
Yep.
I mean, it's so undervalued, and everybody always. It's like, unfortunately, it gets said too much. Because culture is just this hot topic right now.
It's easy to say it. It's a lot harder
really
to
hard
maintain
to
it, especially when your company gets bigger. It's running a company that has 25 people compared to 200. Is completely different because
we're only 40.
All right, so we've all seen the show Silicon Valley, and what big head just sits on the roof and drinks Slurpees all day. I mean, realistically, when your company gets to a certain size, you could have a dude doing that. And maybe not. And
you wouldn't even know it. Yeah.
Well, at Crema, that's allowed.
Yeah, basically.
They're allowed to work wherever they want.
as long as they reach their outcomes, as long as they hit their sprint goals.
I'm down with that. I'm a results guy.
Yeah, we're a results-based culture. We used to call it, I don't think I'll get in trouble for saying it. We had what's called row.
I don't think I'll get in trouble for saying it, but I'm going to say it anyway.
We got in trouble for saying it originally. We had it on our site that we're a row company, results-oriented work environment, which I guess is copyright. And like this lady charges like 10 grand to consult people to do this, like Best Buy.
You did not hear that on Startup Hustle.
Yeah. So, needless to say,
direct all complaints to crema.us.
It was great. I mean, like what she came up with is brilliant, and so we kind of just took our own spin on it. But we had it on our site. She's like, "Yeah, take that off." I was like, "Oh, well, come on. We want to give you some." Anyways,
you add an extra letter.
That's basically we just
environment employer. There you go.
RBC, results-based culture.
Rowie. But but like I said, that's back to the people factor and where that becomes difficult. And one thing that I got to say on that I was so happy for on behalf of our clients, and we work with some really cool companies and really great people, but they were as concerned about our workplace environment and culture overseas as we were.
That's
and
huge.
that was really like refreshing.
Yeah.
Because that was I hired people in the Philippines 10 years ago, but I never did anything to the scale of what we were doing, and Matt and I partnered up on this.
Yeah.
And those were some of the things. So if you're thinking about, tech services or any type of service business, you have to be prepared to be competitive. There's a lot of people out there that are jockeying for the same employees. And part of what we looked at, and we wanted to make sure it wasn't a call center vibe, like people elbows to elbows. And it was pretty easy to do. We actually, for our first 15 hires, we said, what are the things that you loved about your last couple employers, and what were the things that you hated? We took the list of things they hated and we just did the exact opposite. And then we did more of what they loved.
That's the way to do it.
And it very quickly, and we did a lot of listening.
Feedback loops, right? I mean, like, this is what we tell all of our startups to do, right? Why aren't you listening to your customers? And the same thing needs to happen internal, because your other customer is your employee. And so, like, why are you not listening to them, having a feedback loop? So we do, for instance, we use 15.5, which is incredible.
We use that too.
Awesome. So every Friday, we get these feedback loops, and the questions that we're asking are a lot around culture, satisfaction, what we call flourishing. Are you flourishing here? If you're not flourishing here, let me help you find another place. I don't want to fire you. I'm just telling you, like, maybe Crema isn't the best place for you. And you may find a place where you're going to flourish, and sometimes that's not Crema.
Yeah, when we got, so I was just in Cebu, and our office is in Cebu City, Philippines, second biggest city in the Philippines, and no one's ever heard of it. It's so amazing.
And until I heard about you guys working over there, I was like, isn't that crazy?
It's huge, like over 3 million people.
It's so there. American of us.
But so when I was there last week, and I did a town hall meeting, and we had to do 2 of them because the company's so big, we can't get everyone in the same place. So one of them, we had 120 people, and I said, look, I'll answer all your questions, which was kind of funny because one of the questions was, hey, Matt, do you drink? Want to get wasted? So I pulled that out of the box and I answered it. But, one of the things that you talk about culture, first off, one of the very first questions I pulled was, what do you think the company's biggest advantage is? And I said, you guys.
Yeah, good answer.
You are what makes this
right
company.
Answer.
And then after I said, so who in here works for me? And about 2/3 of the people raised their hand. And I said, you guys can put your hands down. You're wrong. I work for you.
Right.
I work for you. It is my job to help you get in situations and places where you're happy, where you flourish, as you would say, like where you're doing things that are interesting and engaging. It's our job to find clients that you want to work with, and so on and so forth. And without you,
service businesses are all people businesses.
Starts to go bye-bye.
And
so but that's important. Because while the people that work with you they're your biggest asset, but they're also they're people. They're not gears. They're not cogs.
They're human beings.
And with that, there's a level of happiness and output and that kind
difficulty,
of stuff,
right? I mean, so you deal with the person that's going through a hard time in their life. You deal with the fact that, hey, we're a little light right now, so I understand you're idle. Don't worry, we got how to.
Yeah, people get nervous about that.
They do get nervous. I mean, if anything, that's the thing is our people want to be busy. They want
That was something that we actually addressed as well. Was like, hey, so while we try to set people up with a client long term, that's not always the way it works. Like, I mean, we're full
Just
scale,
business,
and we do let you add people and then, reduce the team with 30 days notice, which is kind of short. But that was one thing I really had to reinforce. Like, hey, just because you go from one team to another doesn't mean you failed.
Right.
And it doesn't mean you're not going to have a job. Like, hey, we have more work. We have more things to do than everyone in this room could accomplish in the next couple years.
That's great.
So chill out and know you're fine.
And again, we're able to provide that stability for them. And sometimes, depending on, we'll see. Economy's great right now. Depending on where things go, there may be a season where that's not the case. It is an up and down business for sure.
Sure.
Over the 10 years, we've had maybe 2 down periods. Never had to let anybody go, but there's definitely been those seasons. And I think that's the other thing on the service side, because it's so dependent on cash flow.
And sometimes people slow pay.
Yeah.
They do other things, and you need to keep that in mind. Like, actually, at Full Scale, we charge you at the beginning of the month for the services we're about to perform. Because we did, at first, our first few clients, we did it the other way. And I sat down, I did some math. I was like, oh my God, we're going to need like $1 million
the cash flow
to
is huge.
fund
Cash
our own receivables. And then also another thing is I found that it just wasn't really good for the service provider to client relationship to like be a bill collector. Like, pay your bill, pay your bill, pay your bill. Come on, got to pay your bill.
So I have a question for you guys as leaders of these company, of the service company. One of the things that we're trying to think about is what are we needing to do next? Like, you're doing a lot of business development right now, but that's the other thing. As the company grows, kind of your role has to change. At least that's what I found, and I don't know if you guys have found the same thing as you've grown so quickly. So it went from I have to do everything as the freelancer to then I'm mostly doing sales because I'm no longer client work, etc.
Well, I think Neil Sharma expressed this when he was here, right? He's like, running companies like this, especially when they get to scale, are sort of very operational and brain damage.
Yeah.
It's a lot of just day-to-day. We have all these employees. Is every single employee doing exactly what they're supposed to do? Do they show up to work? Are they happy? Are they flourishing? Is the client happy? Mm-hmm. It's a lot of just like operational.
I completely agree. Just
daily grind of just dealing with all the people and making sure everybody's happy, the client's happy, the project's going well. It's a lot of operational stuff.
I don't do any client work anymore.
Our model is slightly different in that our clients manage their own projects.
Oh, that's huge.
Which makes the scalability of what we do a lot simpler.
Yep.
And so sometimes, the quiet client is, I just assume that they're happy.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. And then it's a matter of I try to create a level of awareness with them. Like, look, don't wait until you're pissed to tell me you're spotting something that we can fix now. Like,
that's why we got proactive. We started doing check-ins with clients on a pretty regular basis for that reason.
And that's one of the things. So back to that idea that running, so when we had 30 people or even 60 people, like, I could go to Cebu and sit down and like have meaningful conversations with all 60 people.
Yeah, right.
And now with 175, so to give you some context, that if I sat down for 15 minutes and talked to everybody, that would be a 45-hour week. And that's a challenge, and you want to do that. So you have to change your approach. And like Matt said, a lot of it is operational. One of the things that we did, you talk about people want to be busy.
Yeah.
So we have built our own entire company management system.
Oh,
I mean, all the way down to like HR, employee database stuff, like employee profiles.
Cool.
Like
I love that.
All kinds of stuff. Our client onboarding process is now, we've built a whole process for that. So we ask them, what do you need? Like, for example, some of it just might be as simple as like the information that you need for an MSA.
Yeah.
But also like what kind of technology do you use?
Right.
What time of day do you want? And now we can match that up with people that we have in our database.
Oh, that's brilliant. So you can resource easier that way.
Yeah, and then we have our own creative department too, so we utilize them to like make a video. So I got tired of answering the question, do they speak English?
Oh, yeah.
And yeah.
Which is a common question.
Well, I tell them, I'll tell a client, I say, look, all of our clients, and that's a prerequisite, because, Matt is pretty famous on this podcast for saying you can't build software without good communication.
Right.
I got tired of answering the question, so I told our creative department, you sit everybody down and make a 60 to 90 second video of them talking about what they do and what they want to do.
Right.
And so that really eliminated that question. So they speak, click play and tell me if you think you could talk to this person.
Yeah, that's great.
And some of the English language skills in our office over there are so high that if they were here, you wouldn't guess that they weren't from here.
And by the way, every taxi driver I've ever met in the Philippines spoke English.
I mean,
that's pretty normal. Again, it's just our perception.
It's like going to Cabo. If you've been to Cabo, you're like, you're in Mexico, but maybe not because everything's in English.
Is it really? Yeah.
The only difference is it's a little harder to spend U.S. dollars there. You actually have to have some pesos.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we talked, Dan and I have been in the mission for the last 4 years because we're not a company at scale. It was then what's the company we want to work for? You go back to how am I going to serve the company? So we talked about how do we replace ourselves. So basically everything that we're currently doing, we're constantly looking for a way to say how do we replace either the function of doing that or replace the people to do that. So for instance, I don't do almost any sales anymore. Which is weird as the owner. I refer people in, but immediately it's like, hey, I don't want to be the bottleneck of this sales conversation. Why don't you talk to Nate? And so it immediately goes to Nate, and they take care of that process. I don't do any strategy work anymore.
So what is it you do here?
That's a great question. So a lot of the work that I'm doing now is the people stuff, right? I'm still focusing on how do I clear. Basically, I get to listen a lot and go, how do I get boulders out of your way? How do I remove your obstacles so that you guys can just do freaking badass work? Like that's all that matters. And then the question for us is, what is Crema in 2020, 2021, 2025, And so Dan and I get a chance now to really dream about what we want to do with the company, where we want to go as a service company, as a service or something else company. And so that's just something that I now have the brain space to do that, because otherwise I was just doing that at 2 a.m. in the morning.
That's part of with our growth and building our own system that is streamlining that, and that's
huge.
We're still defining that. Like the question is at what level can a lot of this become self-service?
Yep.
Because our clients, they typically start with like 1 or 2 people. They see the value, and next thing you know, they're on the path to. We have literally multiple clients that have 10 or more people on their team.
That's awesome.
And they all asked that they just send an email. Who do you have for QA testing? So we've built a portal that they can go search for themselves.
Oh, cool. That's nice. I love that.
And then we own Gigabook as a booking platform, and they're going to be able to schedule appointments if they want to do an interview and do a whole bunch of other stuff. So we just built it all in. Now the problem with that is, because we've built that with people on our bench, it is like the most highly resourced, like underachieved software platform. Because if we have the opportunity to pluck someone out in mid-sprint and put them with a client, well, we do.
Oh, that's like every product we've ever tried to build for ourselves.
So
that is honestly, that's probably one of the worst things about owning a service company that builds products for other people, is because everybody says like, oh, when you've built technology companies, there is that feeling of like, oh, I just want to go build my own thing.
Yep.
Granted, it's just that's a different type of company.
The way I'd build it for you and the way I'd be okay with building it for myself are on 2 different levels of quality, and meaning it would be higher for you.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think so I've done both of these now.
I'm curious.
So I've had 2 different software companies and full scale service company. The service company route is like 100 times easier.
Yeah.
It's 100 times easier.
Well, it is and it isn't. Like
building a product is fucking hard.
Yeah, I would believe that.
But building a brand can be even harder, and that's.
But it doesn't have to be a brand. It could be like it started out as 2 guys, and you got your first client. You're making money.
I think
it took us 10 years to build a brand.
When you say it's easy, is it easier to have a service company with 6 people, or is it to have 175? Or 500.
But it doesn't start at that, right? It starts as 1 or 2, and it slowly grows.
It's so much harder to get a product company off the ground.
The path to revenue is way shorter with services, without a doubt.
Like I was feeding my family the first month.
Right.
And they actually make money. Most SaaS companies never make any money.
That's a good point.
Ever.
But somehow they're worth way more than
their value
than your profitable service company.
Well, because that's the other thing is we have employees, and we've been talking a lot about like we want to give you guys ownership of this, but the reality is like there wouldn't be much ownership to give you.
Yeah.
Like if Crema sold at some point as whatever, the multiplier isn't that much. You're not going to walk away with a ton of cash in your pocket.
Now,
right?
but with that, all right, so if you have a sticky service model, like, okay, there's the let's use a cleaning company as an example, like someone that comes and cleans your office after work, that multiple is going to be shit. Why? Because you could literally fire your cleaning company on Monday and have someone else in there doing it on Tuesday. Now, if you're like after 10 years, if you have some clients that you're like, hey, look, half of our clients have been here for 5 years.
Yeah, right.
Or whatever, that is a different conversation.
It goes back to the AOR kind of model, why big ad agencies could sell for so much, because they had a client portfolio.
The longevity, but the problem is you have to survive that timeline which is a whole nother thing.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
you can't control you have limited control over what your clients are going to do. You mentioned earlier, you're like, man, I'd really love to deal with startups. Maybe not, man. They can be a real pain in the ass.
Yeah,
and the question's why? Volatility.
Yeah.
Inexperience.
Super emotional.
Very emotional because
for good reason.
Sure.
None of these are bad things. It's
sure,
just,
because there's a lot. We have clients that have literally just like paid their team to be there for a week with nothing to do because they did a shitty job of managing that, but they could afford it, and they were cool with that.
So to that point, honestly, that's one of our biggest services that we're selling now, almost more so than the developers, because the developers we help our clients hire or we help them find another resource.
You're selling people that don't do anything?
No,
we should get on that.
Yeah, right. But no, it's our product managers. Almost always our product managers are things that get retained the longest because the clients
they have the expertise.
Clients suck at product management.
Yep.
And so what we kind of get in is these people that are saying like, hey, no worries, I'll pull all these people together, we'll get it done, and then they don't have to think about it. So it's one of the first services that we kind of put in the sales process. Our product managers are part of the sales process, and then they carry all the way through to renewals and to upselling new services, etc. Because they're the ones actually pulling the team together to get it done. It's incredible.
Our teams and project managers do a lot of that. I've been encouraging that. I'm like, you guys know what the client, what you need, communicate that and suggest it. And for those of you listening, if you want to deploy a team of people that will do absolutely nothing, I can get that moving for you today.
If you want to pay me to not have anyone do anything.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, so I think another way I would say it is like, if I'm going to start a business today, and I'm thinking about, okay, how can I start my own? How can I make $100,000 a year, $200,000 a year, or whatever, right? You could go start your own tech services business and probably achieve that in a year or two.
Yeah,
pretty easy.
Yeah,
starting your own software company, like it may never happen.
Yeah,
ever.
Well,
because you will grind so much harder and longer.
And the companies never are very profitable. They're hard to scale. They're hard to grow. You got to raise capital. Now some of them are successful. Like I have one friend here in town who has built his own little SaaS company, and it's very profitable, very successful, but they have like a very kind of niche. It was a B2B niche business that people, his customers pay. He wasn't like trying to create this crazy ass dumb idea and hoping to go find people that'll actually buy it.
Ironically,
those
never
are the
hear
ones
about
that
those
never.
People. You never hear about the ones that are actually making money.
He built a real product, and then it's a real business, and it just makes money. Now, those can do it, but most people who are trying to start like a software company these days think they're going to be like the next Facebook or some shit like that, and they're never going to make any money.
And the thing that you brag about is how much you raised, which I just have a problem. I don't have anything. I don't have any problems with raising money. I have more a problem that we just have such a glorification of raising capital as the number one thing, because like, wow, let's go make some money and actually grow value in a company, which I think that's why I love doing. Honestly, going back to why. So then why do we do what we do? One is because I can see immediate impact. I immediately get to see people, satisfied with the work product that we're doing, loving the experience of working with Crema, loving our team, and then I get to see people being really happy about the work.
Huge benefit to your clients.
Yeah, huge. Yeah. And then, oh, by the way, I get paid, right? I've never, transparently, I've never not taken a paycheck. And that there's a lot of people that will go a long time without taking a paycheck.
By the way, though, if you're starting a business, you need to be prepared to not maybe take a paycheck.
And that is okay.
That's a reality, too.
I'm not saying that, but I am saying that the immediate revenue is what I'm getting back to. Like, I can actually see that return. Now, granted, I wasn't making a whole lot when I was freelancing.
$17.50 an hour.
So, right. I mean,
I think it's down to 14.
Yeah,
okay.
We've determined that George's services are a depreciating asset. Hey guys, I have really good news.
Yeah.
I have pulled the perfect mixtape card for this episode.
Suck at this game. I listened to Brody, and I just know.
Well, Brody's been playing mixtape since before we bought part of the business, so he's been practicing.
It's been around our office since way before, like when the first prototypes were out. But
you're experienced.
No, I suck at this.
Okay, so mixtapethegame.com digital version.
Are we allowed to use our phones?
Whenever we're done. No. I mean, this really is the perfect. So I'm going to read a scenario. I pulled a card out of the mixtape deck. All three of us are going to name a song that we think goes the best with the scenario. We will vote. You cannot vote for yourself. Righteously quitting a job and throwing a cheeseburger at your shitty boss.
Fuck You by CeeLo Green.
We've banned that.
No,
that is banned from play. It has been.
It's a perfect one.
Sorry. You're out. You cannot use
that's
that.
Too easy.
It really is it's the right answer.
It is.
How about the take this job and shove it?
Ooh, good answer. Good answer.
I don't know that I can beat that, and I'm terrible with song names.
I'm gonna go with.
I literally thought I need to come prepare for this, but
You know what's funny is like I'm usually pretty. I feel like I'm pretty fast with this, and I'm drawing a blank, but I will not surrender to Watson. I'm also buying time right now for George and myself.
I got this one.
Take this job and shove. It's a little generic, but I mean, I could say these boots are made for walking.
There we go. That's pretty good. I like that one.
I'm on your podcast, and I'm going to fail this test.
Don't make me write fail on the mixtape card and post it on Instagram. And you can find us on Instagram at Startup Hustle Podcast.
I'm terrible at this,
George.
Well, here's the problem. I don't even really listen.
I'll probably vote for you regardless of whatever song you pick, because I just don't want Matt to win right now.
I literally am the worst. So I don't the database for anything that has a name in it.
By the way, the mixtape app, which I have played,
I'm excited to see it.
And have been testing, your clock would be counting down.
I know.
You would have 60 seconds.
You would Brock as well.
You would be moving into the voting phase. Yes, Matt.
My song that I picked, "Take Your Job and Shove It," is that a Dolly Parton song?
Who's Dolly Parsons?
Dolly Parton.
You mean Dolly Parton?
Parton, yeah. Is that a Dolly Parton song?
Parsons?
Maybe. No, I don't think it is, though.
All right.
It's some country artist.
I'm going to use my phone.
Okay.
We disqualify him.
All right,
so
George,
you have an entry.
It's all about quitting, right?
Yes.
And just it's just so dumb. No, I got nothing. I don't even. Oh. So the only thing literally.
Now, by the way.
See, here's my problem.
If you were playing the app because you were too bad to even come up with an answer, you wouldn't get to vote.
So
we've determined that you don't. If you can't contribute to the community,
here's what's funny:
you don't get to vote. Which means Watson and I would tie. Now in the app, this is something we had to come up with.
Oh, okay.
It actually has a tiebreaker.
Oh, you had to
dance off.
No. What every podcast needs is a dance off, though.
It is on camera.
We're getting lasers and a smoke machine.
Really?
Yeah. By the way.
See, here's my problem. When you guys even started this, the only artist, and this is so weird, is Enya. That's the only thing my brain was stuck on the Enya, and I'm like, why are you even thinking about Enya? And
I liked George until right then.
I know. It's the worst. And my brain literally, then I start swimming.
He obviously needs to go to more sweet and greets.
He wants to
get some more
swimming in my brain. Why am I thinking about India?
He's going to quit his job, throw a cheeseburger. I'm going to, how about cheeseburger in paradise? Something.
Nothing. Literally, it was just like, man, that Celtic artist from the 90s.
Oh, my God.
Why am I thinking about her?
So you want to quit your job, throw a cheeseburger in your boss's face, and then go listen to new age music.
Basically, yeah.
I mean, okay.
There could be worse things.
The thing he left out is, he's going to smoke a big joint on the way to doing that.
No judgment. No judgment.
Yeah.
So nobody won?
No, you won. I don't get to vote.
Fine, Matt, you win.
All right, I win. Woohoo!
Only because I've heard you not win a couple
And it's
times.
by Johnny Paycheck, although I'm sure.
Dude, by the way, that's
Dolly
right.
Parton sung it in 9 to 5.
Okay, so look. If you want to see some awesome documentary stuff, go to Cinemax and look up. So Mike Judge, the dude from Beavis and Butthead, did a whole series on country artists, and Johnny Paycheck's one of them. That dude was literally crazy, like insane. And because of that song, he got I don't know. That dude was in jail. He basically did a mountain of cocaine during his life, really crazy stuff. It was
he's probably listening to Enya.
Listening to Enya, yeah, totally. But no, it's crazy the outlaw country people, and they were you hear this history of how crazy Led Zeppelin and they were rookies.
Oh, really?
Compared to Waylon Jennings and George Jones and the people you wouldn't expect.
Oh yeah, no, I would have no idea.
So anyway.
Well, that was
back to tech. Congratulations, Matt.
Yeah, thank you.
Congratulations. Voltron did not have an entry.
I knew I needed to come prepared.
I know Lego Voltron, you have not won. He's not really we got to talk, Voltron. We got to talk.
You need to get a little button you can make him say things.
Yeah.
Maybe. Watson's kids built that, and
it's legit.
And they'll build Lego Voltrons for $3 an hour. Yeah, which is also the initial rate that George charged his very first clients. So
it felt like that.
They'll build anything for a mango Slurpee.
I probably would too.
By the way, speaking of mango stuff, I want to thank Snow Pops again. Go to snowpops.co. They brought a bunch of free Snow Pops, in which 24 of them are mango flavored.
Alcoholic.
Yes.
Really?
Adult
Popsicles.
beverage popsicles. Thank you, Snow Pops. Check them out. And by the way, I'm still waiting for someone to send in fan art of Matt Watson. Just do it. Someone do it and watch what happens. I will probably talk about you for the next 200 episodes.
Wow.
Yeah, we get some interesting stuff in the mail.
Wow.
Yeah, it's fun.
Maybe
Thank you.
That's what I have to look forward to when I'm at episode 200.
Yeah.
I just want to thank
5.
everyone that actually pays attention and is still here.
If you're
minute
here to
49,
the end,
and we'll wrap it up
Yeah.
soon. But so once again, if you want to go check out Crema and George Brooks and what they do, go to Crema. That's CREMA.us. Check us out at Fullscale. We do it at fullscale.io.
Yeah.
Are you on Instagram or anything fun like that?
It's all Crema Lab there.
Crema Lab.
The only reason we took out the lab is if you're at a party and you say, hey, I own a company called Crema Lab, everyone thinks you said criminal lab.
Ooh.
Or
not the
that
same
you work in a
Nice.
lab.
Yeah, it was cool in the early 2000s to put labs or things on that on the front of everything.
I'm
So,
glad you took it off. It's cleaner.
yeah.
It's like the Facebook.
Yeah.
We were the fullscale.io at first, right?
No.
Well, anyway, so George, I'm going to give you the mic for a second and just let you freestyle about tech service startups and being an entrepreneur. Anything you want to throw out there for the startup hustle nation, enlighten us. And I don't mean in an Enya kind of way.
You want me to start singing in you? Oh
No,
my gosh.
isn't it just like really high pitched? Like
It's terrible. Somebody was playing in the office the other day. I think that's the reason I was thinking about it. Yeah, I mean, I think the reality is there's probably a lot of you that are thinking about freelancing or doing freelancing or contracting, and you are an entrepreneur. You know, it takes a lot more hustle to find the work, to get the work done, to actually get people to pay you on time. It's hard, but you can have a real impact really fast, and that's why I love what we do. The majority of what we do, where we start with all of our clients, is in strategy and design. So I think that's one of the big areas that we kind of lead with. So when we talk about maybe how we're the same and how we're a little bit different, we do a lot of design work first. Our first engagements don't have any development. And so there's ways that you can kind of make these entry-level things that you can offer to get into the door of companies that you would have never thought you'd be qualified to be working with. I mean, we're working with like top 5 global consultants now. I mean, I never thought that'd be possible. And so,
your company's been on some of the lists for some of the fast-growing companies here in town too. Congrats, yeah.
And honestly, the ones that I'm most happy about is the best places to work. Like that's what I love. And going back to what we talked about earlier is build a culture where people want to come to work. You know, build a place where they're flourishing. And if you are going to build up a service company, look to figure out how you can replace yourself, because the reality is you're the bottleneck of your own company. And so as fast as possible, get out of the way and empower people to think like you, and then basically get out of their way. Because, oh man, we've flourished more so as a company since Dan and I got out of the way. Which I don't know what that says about Dan and I, but it definitely says more about the team.
It says you're smart and you paid attention.
Yeah, I mean, we've created an incredible team, and the work that we're doing now, most of it's all B2B. We don't do any B2C work. We just don't build consumer apps. We've just kind of named that and said, you know what, like you were talking about building products. It's just too hard. It's too risky. You're never going to be happy with the end result. It doesn't matter how much time or effort I put into building the best software we've ever seen. You're not going to be happy because it's going to be really hard when you realize nobody wants it. Or
the go-to-market strategy is so hard.
So much harder with consumer products. When I'm building a product that's being used either internally or as a means to feed the larger engine in an innovative way, that gets really exciting. So whether it's procurement or sales or
it's easy to see results.
Yeah, it's immediate. And so, and oh, by the way, I have a huge test audience, because like you can tell your employees, you're going to test this, or you can tell your existing clients, I need you to try this for me. When you're trying to get somebody on Facebook to buy an ad that says, will you try this thing for me, it's a lot harder. So that's why we focus on B2B. So I mean, figure out your niche, figure out where your space is when you're doing service work, figure out what your unique value prop is. Ours is about user experience. Even the software is about user experience. So, and have fun with it. I love it.
I'm penalizing Watson for yawning, sorry.
I used to have a designer that would yawn almost every meeting we had, and I would every single time say, am I that boring?
Yes.
And I was joking.
Yes, you are.
Oh, really?
No, not really.
Gosh. You told me to rant, so I just made stuff
no,
up.
and I appreciate that you did. And you know, George, thank you for everything you're doing around town. I think you're a valuable member of our entrepreneur community. I know a lot of people, you know, I just met you, but I've heard such great stuff about you guys and Crema. I know you guys do great work.
I appreciate that.
And
we love the city.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's amazing how many brilliant entrepreneurs and people are probably around wherever you're at. Mm-hmm. You know, so look around, get involved with some people, reach out, you know, go to some stuff, hang out with some people, and see what happens.
Yeah, Crema's around a lot of different events, startup events. So it's good.
It's funny because we're actually around a lot less than we used to be. I mean, that's how we got started. Was we were just at everything, and now
done it.
Yeah, well, partly I'm just tired. But
also there.
Well, and a lot of our clients aren't here. And so I kind of actually, that's something we're kind of focusing on 2020 is like, how can we get back into Kansas City? How can we serve some of the companies that are here? Albeit it's probably going to be a different profile than what we used to serve when we were here.
Yeah.
But again, most of our clients aren't here. So I miss working with more local clients. I don't mind traveling, although I don't have to because I don't do the client work. But our team's pretty often out in New York or LA or Seattle and that kind of stuff. So.
And regardless of where you're at, you can check out the Option 5 podcast.
Option 5, yeah. All about, so Option 5, just to tell the backstory of that, Dan and I, when we were trying to come up with a proposal for a big client that we were pitching years ago, we came up, we were all staying late to figure out, can we actually pull this off? This was the question. We don't have the resources to do it, and so we were like shuffling people and trying to get really creative. And we had like 4 brilliant proposal ideas of how we could approach this. We're going to hire, we're going to pull in another team, et cetera, et cetera. And then literally, Dan just walked up the board after the 4 options and was just like, Option 5. It's like, so basically that just means say yes and figure it out.
Nice.
So we said yes, and we basically pitched them a price. We didn't even try to explain how we were going to do it. And when we said, we'll figure it out on the other side, and we totally did, and that client was super happy. And so we said we live in the Option 5. We live in the space where we're always thinking about how do you say yes, and then move forward to learn as fast as physically possible, build the plane on the way down. And
I love it.
We're always doing that. So that's our Option 5.
Well, we're going to be hard at work on figuring out what Option 6 might be.
Ooh.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. Make sure to check us out on the YouTubes and the other places. See you guys next time.